We are back with Maya Vitry. The new album is Violet Light, and the song you just heard is one of the most upsetting uh, on the album, but also one that I think I think speaks to a deep truth through nature again, and a disturbing one, which is Not a Trick of the Eye, where the title track came from. Um, when there is an officer involved shooting, I feel like there's two things that people look at. You can look at what happened, or you can look at what the officer looked like, what the person looked like, who's wearing the badge, who's not, and people are so distracted by these patterns that they're missing the deeper truth, which is, oh, that person was pointing a gun at someone. Maybe that was a good thing that the police officer was able to do something. Oh, that person had his hands up, he had his back turned, and got shot a bunch of times. Maybe the police officer's the problem here, but it just feels like in so much in the direction of, oh, there can't be a mistake when you shoot a person and you're a cop. That's just what they do. It's just amazing how people are trying to find these patterns that don't exist more so than the truth of the situation. Did I make any sense there?
Yeah, I think this song is about it's about like trying to acknowledge the patterns that we tend to talk about and then look for something else that's happening and like the because it's I think that one of the and every single one of these scenarios is so distinct, and then there's like a lot of similar threads too. But I think, well, I'll share this. I went to I think it's called the Museum of the Underground Railroad. It's in Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's right across the river, where it was like Cincinnati was on the free side of the river. Um, and they have this exhibit on implicit bias there. And you can take, it's like a test that you take on a computer. You sit down and they get, images flash in front of you, and it's based on your reaction time, and you're pairing like positive things and negative things, and there's people's faces, and it moves very fast, and like I was in there. I said, okay, I want to take this. This was just a few months ago I did this, and there's a bunch of other families in there, all representing like many different backgrounds and colors, and it's ages, and everyone's like taking this test and kind of like sort of looking up and over their shoulders, and a little bit like shame and shock, and but like understanding when they finish the test. They're like, uh-huh, it turns out according to this test that I have I have implicit bias towards white men. Like, it's kind of, this is who you're giving the benefit of the doubt to. Like, and the test it's testing this because, like, based on your reaction time and all this stuff and matching things, and it's, you can't think your way like out of it because it's happening really quickly. And even though, I deal with this like as, as a woman, I have implicit bias against myself often, where I trust, I think that a guy has like is just automatically going to have a better understanding of something than I do, and or I think that they're automatically going to be more competent at a technical aspect of something than I am. And it's just an implicit bias that I have. That's one of them. And then there's this other bias, and these are biases that we develop, based on race. We develop these biases because of what we learn and our culture and what we are taught in school, and the neighborhoods where the schools have a certain amount of money and certain amount of and a certain kind of curriculum, and the way that we teach American history and the heroes that we celebrate in American history, and the stories that are completely covered up, and the books that are banned, and all of these things contribute to our implicit biases. And then in these snap judgment moments that get caught on a cell phone video camera of one of these incidents, it's like it all of this implicit bias that is kind of like, it's not hurting anybody in such a acutely violent way that we're shocked by it, but it is hurting in like the kind of undercurrent of like who we are as a people, as a united people, and creating a country together. Like we don't feel it so viscerally and so acutely and painfully when we are like not, when something is like glazed over, like let's just glaze over this aspect of our history or something. Like we don't, there aren't these uprisings about it. And then, we see this incident or many incidents over and over and over again. And I think it's like that the more I think about it, that is more like I want to focus less on, not that these obviously like people need to be held accountable, but we also need like really vast shifts and changes in how we learn, and how we learn to see ourselves and learn to see others. And because we do learn, it's not that we just like it's something that we can shift. But if everyone who's walking into this museum with attempting an open mind is kind of finding that like against all of our better wishes for how our brain could work, that we still have certain implicit biases against certain people, towards certain people. Like it's difficult, it's really difficult, but I think that all of that gets left out of these conversations. And then there's just the essence of that song too, is I want to put focus on, like, in this song, it's like someone leaves, I picture, they're just like leaving their family. Maybe they just tucked their little girl in and they're saying, goodbye to their wife or something. And it's just like, hey, good night. Like, there's no reason for goodbye. It's about like this is not, there's not supposed to be a funeral for this person. Like, this is messed up. Like, they were just saying goodnight to, like, go buy a bag of chips or something, or go for a run, or whatever they were doing. And so these kind of, like, lighthearted, like, goodnight kind of feelings versus the heaviness of, like, I saw an innocent man, like, shot dead. Like, how does it move so fast from, like, good night, see you later, to now this person is, like, this entire person is gone forever. This father, husband, friend, boyfriend, sister, mother, whoever, it just happens so fast. And then from my position, in my body, in my skin, in my personal experience, like, I've never seen anything like that in real life. And it's just a wild thing to be a witness to, as a part of like this particular chapter in our history, and try to be a citizen who's like, and a human who's trying to find compassion for, like, everybody in some way. And it's just a difficult thing. But we can't like sustain this. We can't keep going forward and thinking that this is okay. And it's not like, oh my gosh, who are we? How does this happen in America? It's like, no, no, no. This is like, we are a long, violent history. Like this is not a surprise. So, just some
Uh,
thoughts.
it worries me that all these people, and I'm sure I have my own implicit biases, but at the same time, it makes me happy that their implicit biases have not won. And you
Mm.
know that they haven't won because they're sitting there taking this test in the Museum for the Underground Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a place you go if you're not ready to challenge implicit biases, to learn about the long violent history, and
Totally.
to celebrate the good work of people standing up to it. So I think it's very human to have implicit biases in favor of those who look like what you've grown up around. But at the same time, that's no excuse for going and acting on them, because if we all have those, lizard brain instincts in our head, then everyone should be dead if it's okay to, just act on whatever your worst impulses are, whatever your worst assumptions are.
Totally.
So there is disturbing stuff and there is hope. For every disturbing cell phone video comes out, at the same time there is hope because it's seeing the light of day, at least for now. I'm not sure how long it'll be until Republicans ban discussions on race outside of schools, but um, at least for now, it's seeing the light of day. It's showing us a new pattern. It's challenging our biases, and it's allowing the conversation to move more dramatically forward than it ever has.
Mm.
So there's a lot to be afraid of, but there's a lot of hope in these these painful visual reminders.
Absolutely. And the, like, we want to belong, as humans. Like, we want to find belonging with each other, and we want to feel seen and cared for. And I think, like, no matter what, no matter where people are coming from, like, aligning politically in different parts of the spectrum, I think there's a lot of common ground that we can find in some more creative ways, hopefully, to realize that we actually have some similar values and want similar things, um and would, yeah, that our all of our differences are can really be a strength, and we, we can just have more vulnerable conversations, and that's hopeful, hopeful and helpful.
All right. You know, all this trauma you sort of hinted at on another one of your songs, Real Time, Real Tears, that there's no easy way out through it.
Mm.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I guess there's like a line there, like, I give my pain a window, I give my pain a door. Um, like, bringing in like water and sunshine, and these kinds of nourishing, um, these things that we need, like, to grow, and time, and that time is the arc of time. We need to trust that we're not going to heal from something like overnight, or our pain is not going to be just kind of tied up in a neat little package, um, even in a week or a month or a year or something. Um, yeah, I guess it's just like, I'm trying to, um, accept the darkness and the light always, and kind of integrate it and try to understand how to live with both those things, the night and the day. And it's not, yeah, it's a balance. I don't know.
Well, I always close off interviews by asking my guests to choose a song. I give them a category. You went and literally went through this list of more than 100 interviews and said, I'm going to do something totally different. And just threw out the whole script, and I love it. You're going to share a poem. The category I gave you was something in the vein of what you do that uses nature to get at a deeper human truth.
Mm. Yeah, I want to share this poem that I have found to be really meaningful to me. It's called In Blackwater Woods by Mary Oliver, and I'll read it. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds, and every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go.
Thank you. Going to, because I always sort of want to end musically, being that this is a musical radio show,
Mm-hmm.
talk show, whatever it is. I'm going to play a song that from the Mammals called My Baby Drinks Water, which I think really reminds us that we are not separate from this world, and
Mm.
we can't possibly act as though we're separate or things will go awry.
Mm. Cool.
Thank you for coming on again, Maya.
Thanks for having me. Really nice to chat with you, Trevor.